Yep.
Hey, who'd you talk to? What's going on? It is me, Mike Lepre, King Michael. This is Legit Paranormal, brought to you by legitpodcast.com. The date is 06/26/2022, which is June 26th. 2022. That's gonna be oodles for the math geeks. Oodles. I'm using the word oodles for the math geeks. Joining me, Buddy Thayer. What's up, buddy?
That is a tremendous amount of twos and a tremendous amount of sixes, Mike. In that day,
Yeah.
it revs me up. It gets me thinking about if I add all those numbers together, that's probably how many beers I might drink this evening. Because I'm drinking Sam Adams Summer Ale. It's a 5.3. It's a wheat ale. It's nothing like I've ever drank on the show, Mike. It's a very good summertime beer. I spent the weekend replacing boards on the deck, mowing the lawn. This is a good beer to have when it's hot in the summertime. It's just you can drink a million of them. I drank about 8 of them on the boat last night, catching Larry the Largemouth. It's been a beautiful weekend.
Hey, buddy, let me interrupt you really quickly.
Go ahead, Mike.
Not to change subjects, but me and you also do a show that's a hit show that no one really knows about.
Mm-hmm.
A hit show that nobody knows about. Never mind. The USFL show. And we said that if by some strike of lightning, some chance of God, that you get Birmingham and Philly in the finals, you bet your house on Birmingham.
Right.
And, buddy, what happened?
We got to bet our house on Birmingham because
I am 30 now and 12 for the season.
The Stars beat the Generals.
30 and 12, buddy, for the season.
It's crazy.
Take my advice. Just bet anything flat. Don't just bet them to win. Everything you own. There's no way they lose. Speaking of never losing, Joey Paranormal. What's up, Joe?
Hey, what's going on, guys? So I disappeared for a week, and all of a sudden, Buddy has like the most fantastic friggin' camera I've ever seen.
Oh, this is actually the new computer, Joe. That's why.
Yep, makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
I finally plugged it in and figured out how to turn it on.
You're moving up in the world.
Like, wow, the camera is tremendous. I used it on USFL the other night. I was like, wow, I can see like the mountains behind me and shit.
Yeah, it's like stairs. You look at your stairs.
Weird.
Now we just got to work on your lighting.
I got a light. I'm working.
All right, don't touch it. Yeah, don't touch it.
I'm not gonna.
So next week, my beer of the week, or just the beer I'll be drinking, Fenway. Right? Sam Adams made a Fenway hazy IPA. You can actually get them in cans in stores. Supposedly, the store up the street from me has them, so I'm gonna pick some up. Very excited. Very good beer. I had some last Sunday.
They should make a Buckner one with like a tab right here.
Yeah,
you can pull, and then the beer just pours out.
right through his legs.
Buddy, do your beer. You already did your beer. Let's do the introduction. Beer. Are you ready to do it?
I'm ready to introduce this week's guest. This week, joining us all the way from Utah, like another West Coast guest. This is crazy. He's the founder of Western Association for the Science of the Paranormal. I hope I got that right. He's a radio host. He's also a indie wrestler. He's also an indie referee, and he's rung a few bells or two. Joining us from Utah, Chris Harmon. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you very much for having me. And I got to do a little clarification. I've never been a wrestler. I've been a referee, ring announcer, timekeeper, and video editor, but I've never had the opportunity to square up against anybody.
All right. Let me say something. Here's how warped I am, Chris. So I'm writing down the name of your association, and I'm being funny with myself because I always do this. So I start looking at the letters, and I'm like WAFTSOP. I'm like, no, why would you keep the for, the and the of?
Right, the little words.
No, and I have not yet looked at the photo that's on the screen. If I just looked up, buddy, I would have saw a wasp.
You would see it, Mike.
I would have saw a wasp across his like profile. I'm the idiot going, no, let's take those. Like I'm doing a friggin' word puzzle. I go, WASP. I look up. Damn it. That was just 10 minutes gone of my life. But yeah, great name for the group, Chris, is what I'm saying.
Thank you very much. Like we kind of lucked out with the name because Rick, my other founder, and he's also our tech expert and our biggest skeptic when it comes to the group. He's the one that really came up with it. And we just decided to go with it and found somebody that can do a great logo like the one on my shirt here. The rest is history.
Yeah, man, I like it. I like it. We have a lot in common. There's a lot of things that you're into that I'm also into, which we'll get into. We feel like we got lucky with legit paranormal. I actually feel like we got lucky with legit podcasts, and then everything else that follows, all the other shows we do, legit fantasy football, like just that word alone. I don't know how people didn't snatch that word up. You know what I'm trying to say? Like legit was another. So that's worked out for us. It's given us it fits our image. I got a very, guys, you got beers?
Yes.
I got a very Italian image, Chris.
Water today, my friend. I got too drunk last night.
Oh, I'm sorry. Whenever I make an Italian reference, they drink, which is often. But we have that kind of vibe. Now, besides the paranormal group, Devotion Championship Wrestling. Now, Devotion as far as church-wise, or give me the Devotion?
So Devotion Championship Wrestling was created by Manny Smith, who's known as also Manny Lemons, who was on Impact TV for a while. And Devotion is just more, are you devoted to make yourself into the best?
Nice.
Has nothing to do with religious purposes. It's just, are you devoted to being the best?
All right. And, all right. So you reffed, but never. Tell me why you didn't get in the ring.
So you have to be a skilled athlete to really do what they do in the ring. You guys are all familiar with pro wrestling, how it is, and you see what their bodies go through. I went through the training. I took the bumps, and I just realized I was not as gifted as an athlete as I was wishing to be. Being that I loved pro wrestling since I was 9 years old, I always wanted to be a part of it. It just didn't work out to be the wrestling part. But there's other things that need to happen in the business.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm just trying to figure out the first part of it. So were you an athlete in high school?
Not really. I did try out for the basketball team. I loved to golf. And growing up, I used to play baseball and basketball all the time. But as I got older, my body just couldn't take the bumps because it takes a lot of toll on your body.
Yeah,
also, all right. So then, athletic wise, what was your height and weight when you tried out?
For basketball, was it
no, for wrestling? When you were thinking about doing pro wrestling, where were you size wise, height and weight?
6 feet, 190 pounds.
How much of it was all muscle? Be honest.
To be honest, probably 30%. I'm going to be honest.
All right. Because
fair question, honestly.
So, but that. See, I guess what my dumb mind is like, how does that stop you though from having at least one match?
Because there's a lot of training you got to put yourself through. I had one buddy that spent 6 months training before he had his very first match. And he spent 15 years in the ring doing what he loved. And he even got to face Rey Mysterio. And it was one of the coolest moments of his career that's what he wanted. He wanted to be around him, that he ended up doing it. For me, I guess the best way to describe it is that it's a mental thing too. If you mentally put yourself into getting into that ring and doing what your talent's doing, you can make it happen, but you also got to think safety wise, because you are protecting the talent that's in the ring with you. And I know I don't have what that takes. So
I get that.
The next option would be a referee. The benefit of being a referee is you get to be in some of the best matches possible, and you get to work with the talent still. And being a referee in Utah, there's this thing called Iron Manning it, where you're refereeing every single match in one night.
Wow.
And I've done up to 13 matches in one night by myself. Would I do that again? Probably not, just because now I'm reaching 40 and my body can't take it as much. But from what I've learned in the last 15 to 16 years that I've been a part of the business, I won't take any of that back. It was an amazing experience.
So, all right. So it always brings me back to this one story that I had this one glimmer of hope, one slim chance in my life where I could have got in the ring, but my wife completely cut it. I mean, she stopped it the minute she heard it. And the thing was, I had a really good setup. There was this kid that was really popular local around New England, and he was using the song from the band that I was in as his intro.
Okay.
So my angle was, we show up, he introduces us in the front row as the band that wrote said song, loses the match. We go in the ring, help him up, shake his hand, thank him for having us there, and then I just smash him over the head with the microphone for being a loser and invite me here so he can lose in front of me. And we stomp his ass out, and he wanted to have a match. And this is like, me and him actually had this whole conversation, and he was like, literally, the wife's gonna end up hearing about this for the first time. Here we go. So literally, he just showed me like hip toss, this, that, the other thing. And the thing is, this isn't bragging. I'm just, because I played basketball almost to college, and because I've stayed in athletics because of my kids. I've always been an athlete. I'm old now, old as shit. But this is back then where I wasn't as old as shit. So I've always been an athlete, and I knew that I could pull off the moves that he was proposing, because it would be a short squash match. Mostly, I would be risking getting hurt. I was okay with that because I wanted to do just one. So we had it all set up. That I told the wife, and I said, I think I got as far as, I'm thinking of doing a wrestling. No. I didn't even, she's like, no. I'm like, she goes, I've let you do so many things in your life, right? You are not getting in a ring. I'm like, why? She goes, because you'll break something. I'm like, probably. You're probably right. And I rethought it and I stopped. But Chris, to this day, at my age of 78, like, I still want to get in the ring. I mean, there's something about it. Joe, you know what I'm talking about. Am I right?
Yeah. Yep. I was the same way growing up. I never got that close to an opportunity, but I've always wanted to walk through the Titantron, just to that one song you always want to come out to and just experience what it's like to have the crowd going nuts for you as you make your way to the ring.
Oh, I don't blame you guys at all. And I've got a perfect story to why I'm not a wrestler. There you go. And it goes back to New Year's Eve back in 2011. I am the only referee for this show, by the way, so keep this in mind. At the midpoint of the show, we had a tag match between two different teams. If I were to name them, you guys wouldn't know who they were anyway. But we get to the point where
any good names though, like the swinging tea bags or the. I've had tag names in my head that I wanted to call myself.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Come on, that's a good one.
I love it. I love it, actually. If I was a promoter, I'd be like, you make that team happen.
Here we come out, the swinging tea bags, and we're just douchebags. With that name, you have to be a douchebag. We're just douchebags to everybody.
I'm surprised we didn't have that in ECW, to be perfectly honest.
Teas. All right, I'm sorry.
So we had the team Salt City Masquerade, which featured Junior X and Zach James going up against Los Mochis Paco and Bronson of the God Squad, a short-lived stable that it did pretty well. But at the end of the match, we had one of our longest-tenured wrestlers named Blitz come out and start attacking everybody. He even pulled off this incredible fall-away slam over the top rope with Bronson, throwing him on top of the Salt City Masquerade. And it was incredible. And this is on YouTube. You just look up UCW0, type in God Squad. You should be able to pull this up. But he ends up powerbombing Paco because they're getting ready for their match for the 10-year anniversary show that's coming up. And I'm on the ring apron standing there telling him, okay, that's enough. You've done your damage. Get to the back. He turns around, does this, and then elbows me off, and I fly into a bunch of steel chairs that were right behind me. And this is in the middle of the show, and I still have a second half of the show to go through. It hurt like hell. And keep in mind, there's no padding in this arena. We had cement. This is going back to Mid-South days where they just had the cement floors. No barriers, just steel chairs and cement. It hurt like hell. And I'm surprised I still finished the show afterwards.
That's absolutely amazing. And again, it does, things like that do hurt like hell. Here's a dumb thing I did. We needed a new drummer. This is way back. and we had put an ad in the paper, the Phoenix, the local, local whatever music paper. And Mike Lopes came to see us, buddy.
Oh yeah.
And for some reason during the show, drunkenly, I started to stack milk cartons. You know, the plastic ones. I had 3 of them. I thought I was going to stand on 3 milk cartons and jump off and land as the song ends. Well, when I went to go jump off, the bottom milk carton kicked out, and I went down like Beetle Bailey. I went down like since I've gotten older, Chris. Within the last year or so, I've had to take bumps, meaning my dog has either tripped me where I'm falling and I've had to tuck in and land on my back, or I had an aquarium, a full aquarium, 40-gallon one, drop on my head and smash it like a baseball. And lucky enough, I hit my back and took the bump and I didn't die. So that's helped since then. Mm-hmm. But no, this time I did not fall well, and I busted everything up. I mean, I had blood all over me. You would have thought I was attacked by a dog, and I fell on milk cartons. And you're talking about metal chairs, so I digress. So we got wrestling, video games. What type of video games? Because I think the only thing that me and you are gonna not match on is gonna be the type of video games, because I'm a sports type video game guy.
Mike, let's.
All right, go ahead, Joe.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
You're the video game guy.
Yeah, I noticed a collection of what looks like PS1 or Dreamcast discs behind him, and possibly like 3DS cases. I think I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like you got like an old 2DS case up on that shelf as well. So.
So I do have, I like the retro side of things. So I'm big when it comes to Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. There is nothing wrong with sports games. Some of the best sports games were on Sega Genesis.
Can I ask you a question? Yeah. Man, I can't believe you just mentioned that. So I found like an old Xbox box. I'm like, what the fuck? Why did I keep that? Opened it up, and it's my old Sega Genesis. I got a Hardball, which is my favorite. Hardball is my favorite game from that thing. But then it's also got Super Tecmo Bowl. Sorry about that. It's got I got all those games. Right? I literally got them all, but I don't have the adapters. It's like the old school like cable in thing. My TV's not built for that. Where do I get an adapter?
So you can go online to Amazon. They actually carry HD cables that will connect to your Sega Genesis, and you will be able to play on an HD TV. I had to do it from.
Called?
All it is just an HDMI or
to composite.
Yeah, to composite.
Or to component. So, Mike, your TV, does it have on the back the red, green, and blue circular inputs? Because you can actually take the red, yellow, and white, and I believe you just wouldn't input like either the red or the white audio.
Yellow and white on it, I think. But I don't know if I have. I'd have to find that adapter.
Because that's another way you can do it too. I have a TV in my basement that I use for my retro consoles that has the red, green, and blue. And you can actually hook up the red, white, and yellow. You just lose the ability to do left and right sound, and it's all central. But it still works pretty well.
All right.
And to add to that as well, Joey, if you don't mind, it depends on the TV as well, too. And I'll give a great example, because I've got a TV right here next to me that I use for my double screen for my computer. But I tried to hook up my Nintendo 64 to it with the RGB, or just the regular red, yellow, and white, and it would not play. So I had to get the HDMI for it. But my GameCube would play just fine.
Yeah, you know what? I did try to plug in the thing, and it would not. It just wouldn't recognize it. So I think that's why I digress again. I think that's why I need this cable. So it's HDMI to component. All right.
In fact, right there, if you want to look, that's the tag for the item I got for my Nintendo 64 cord. Because my local game shop here in Utah, they didn't have any, so I had to go online to Amazon to pick it up. And if you grab that right there, which I think cost me anywhere from $10 to $20, it worked just fine on the TV. It works on my other HDMI TV I've got here. I'm happy. Can't complain.
Just make sure it's powered.
Mm-hmm.
So
it has to, because if it's not powered, it's not going to work.
Last question. Music. What style of music are you into?
So classic rock, classic heavy metal. I do love the 80s. I love synthwave. Synth pop, anything with synthesizers. New wave is another one. It's one of my favorite genres. And I'm even into a little bit of the retro hip hop because some of it's got some pretty good beats. Because to me, I don't listen to the words as much. I listen to the sound. Like lately, one of my biggest kicks has been Blue Oyster Cult and listening to a lot of their guitar riffs that they've done in their albums. Like one I just recently discovered, which was, I think it's Cultosaurus erectus from 1980. It's got some really good riffs in there. So that's kind of my style. It helps me relax and I enjoy it.
You know what? So, all right, let's see where we come into with that. So I think I'm with you on the old school rock. I'm with you on the old school rap. Hold on, I'm trying to get you something here. But see, I probably am a fan of the music that you may hate the most, and that's what I'm afraid to discuss. But let's get into it. They labeled us new metal.
Okay,
that's what they labeled us.
Anything with metal, I don't have a problem with at all because it sounds terrific. The rock is amazing. Anything rock and roll, I can dig 100%.
Mike, I just want to let you know that you just you pasted the link to SoundCloud as the ticker. Nobody can click that. And nobody
I didn't mean to paste that to the thing.
That'd be a lot to write down, Mike.
I was gonna say that the intent's great, man, but it's not gonna help anyone.
Joe, my wife tried to give me one of those mouses that has the finger scroll thing. It's more advanced. Your thumb. I'm like, look, don't do it to me because I can barely use what I got. Let me just stay with what's normal. I can't use stuff.
Hey, just ask me, man. Look what I did for Buddy.
Dude, I'm not asking you. Give me a break now. All right. So, what have you ever listened to Godsmack or Stained?
Oh yeah, got their collection on my iTunes.
Okay, so that's a connection. So, really quick, not to beat the horse, but there was a while there where we had set up was between us, Godsmack and Stain that we would alternate who would headline, who would whatever from Springfield, Worcester, to Providence. So Providence was us, Springfield, Worcester was Stained. Anything close to Boston was Godsmack, right? So the espresso bar was Stained, places like that. And in Providence, the Living Room, oddly enough, Lupo's, oddly enough, with Kilgore headlining. So played with those bands, right? And met those guys. And that I love that music and that time of music so much. But then it turned and it bastardized. I saw mosh pits go from people hitting each other and picking each other up, throwing them on, to the kicks coming in, the punches coming in, the always spotting the big guy that's just waiting for someone's back to be turned so he can drill someone and get out. It turned. Something changed. And I want to blame Fred Durst. Here's why. One, he did the style of music that we were doing and made it just really bad. He made it seem like it was cheesy and he didn't put any effort into anything he ever did lyrically. It was just an awful sin of sins. But secondly, he did sign Aaron. So he actually helped Aaron out. I mean, I'm standing at Great Woods with Aaron talking about how his lawyer is the same lawyer as Ice Cube. He was geeking out and watching Durst. So I hated Durst, but he did one thing, whatever. He ruined music. Would you agree on a little of this?
Actually, I don't. I'm in the middle, but I agree a little bit more than I disagree. One of the things I didn't like about Fred Durst is he seemed really lazy And just because he didn't want to do something, he would make a big deal about it. In fact, it's funny you bring this up. I remember watching a long time ago, they were doing a special on MTV about Fred Durst. And he was about ready to do a concert in Orlando, Florida. And this is hours before the concert even starts, maybe within the hour. He's in his limousine talking to his agent. I don't want to do this concert. I don't want to do this concert. Just cancel it. Say something. To me, that's disrespectful to everybody who paid. I don't know how much they paid for the tickets first and foremost, but that's disrespectful to those fans who put all that time and effort to go see it, and you don't want to see them at all.
Chris,
Fred?
have you ever heard of an artist named DJ Scribble?
I have. Actually, yes, I have.
A DJ, like back in the day, was on MTV a lot, DJ Scribble. So there was a thing up in, I don't know, Maine called like the DJ Fest, and what it was 5 well-known DJs and then 5 bands that had DJs in them. That's literally what it was about. So the 2 headliners were us and Scribble. Go ahead, buddy. In the back, right? Everybody hung out, right? Scribble sat in a limo with AC on for about, I want to say from like 10 a.m. to say maybe when he went on at 7. He maybe came out once or twice to take a piss. Other than that, did interact with anybody backstage. And, dude, you get into that music and you get into that whole thing. You get into wrestling. You get into all this because you either love the whole grind of it or you don't. And if you don't love the grind of it, you get out. Like, you're either in all the way or you're not. And you have to be like that in wrestling, music, and paranormal. Right?
Agree 100%. Agree 100%.
So I kind of get where you come from in the sense of like, you've got a good thing going with this paranormal thing, and it's become a serious thing for you, and I'm glad about that. So now, tell me how it got together. Like, tell me a
segue.
For me.
So for how it started for me, go back to year 2000. So here in Utah, we have an amusement park called Lagoon. And when I turned 17, I ended up going to being a games operator for their company. And one of the areas they've got is Pioneer Village. It's an old area that features a lot of the buildings from back in the 1800s for Salt Lake City, Rockport. That's a city underwater now. And they had this old shooting gallery, the old-fashioned light gun shooting gallery where you shoot at the items and it would move. One night I had the opportunity to work this game, and it was the only time I ever worked this game. 20 minutes before we shut the game down for the night, everything you shot at, including the items that weren't working, all went off at once. And I was floored. I'm like, this is strange, something I've never seen before. And as soon as everything stopped, I started hearing footsteps coming down the hallway. And my first thought is, okay, someone's coming to relieve me. We're going to shut down the game. Awesome. And I go to meet them. And as I'm walking, I'm noticing no one is there. I walk around the game, open the door, try to see nothing. I am by myself when all this is happening.
Is it one electrical thing connecting to all of them? I mean, are they all like a Christmas, like electrical, like Christmas lights?
Series circuit.
That is actually a very good question. I never knew how it was set up. And I did ask about it because I told the situation. They think, oh, it's just a compressor system just doing its normal thing. This is not the first time it's happened and everything. And I've told this to my buddy Rick, who is also one of the founding members to WASP. And he's all like, because he works in HVAC and he does a lot with electrical. And he told me what I explained. That is hard for it to happen like that. Ever since that day, it's the first question that comes into my mind. Okay, how did this happen? Why did this happen? What happened? And right at that point, I wanted to study more about this and find out what's causing all this. And even more importantly, I wanted to debunk anything that was coming up in people's minds as being paranormal as being real life. And it does happen quite a bit in the paranormal here in Utah. You'll get people that have something go on, and then you hear it, you're like, okay, did you try this? Did you try that? And they did it, and we go and do it, and it ends up fixing everything. Eventually, what ended up happening was a buddy of mine and I were sitting down. We were just watching the ghost hunting shows, like just kicking back. And we're like, with our experiences and what we've known, can we do to start studying this a little bit more? So we went to a local place called Steeds Pond here in Clearfield. And we walked around to see, we had a digital recorder with us, camera, see if we could pick up anything. And there was one picture that popped up. It looked like it had a face. It was a breath from our breaths, because this is around November 3rd of 2009. And it's freezing cold out here in Utah around that time. And we were able to debunk it as just being our breaths and everything. But two of my other friends decided to join us and come back to the place a couple of days later. And he had his digital recorder running, and we go back to listening to it. And at one point, it goes from this all the way down to this. We're talking like this all of a sudden, and we don't know why. We're right next to the digital recorder, and then it comes back up, just like so. And we're listening to it carefully. We're hearing train bells, because there's a walkway right behind the pond that used to be the Denver Rio Grande Railroad that they've turned into a walkway, taking out the steel and everything they can to just turn it into a walkway. And that's when we first experienced something paranormal. And we decided, you know what, we're going to take off with this and see where we can investigate. And we did that from 2009 till May of 2010, took a break. And in 2017, it all started back up. And we decided to go ahead.
Wait, so when you were listening to the thing, you heard the volume of your voices go down as if like train was coming by?
Correct.
Okay. What were you playing it back on? What did you record it with?
So we had a Sony digital recorder, and then we transferred it over to our computer and played it through Audacity.
But it was recorded on tape.
No, we had a digital one. We didn't have the tape recorder ones. Right. It would have been nice to have the tape one. Trust me.
You know, actually, if you would have had it on tape, I would have not trusted it as much, because tape can have a spot where it kind of gets dull for a second. It comes back. Like we've had tapes, and this is dating myself again, get ruined because it's almost like a smudge where it just drops out the quality of it. So no, it's the fact that it's digital is even a little more scary. All right, I get that. So all right, we've been doing this show for a while, and what I love is that we get to learn how people get into paranormal, and your story is somewhat similar to others in the sense of like there's that one, and then I say, well, I got to find out more, and then there's bang, bang, bang. Next thing you know, here comes the rabbit hole. Buddy, you are a paranormal investigator. You are the head of Ocean State Paranormal, which I'm going to speak for Buddy. We'll be making a big announcement soon that they are adding a member to the team, and that is myself, because it's long overdue. Buddy, go ahead. Ask.
All right. So, as one paranormal investigator to another, if Mike's done talking, I've been sitting here thinking about this question since I first I read your name, the Western Association for the Science of the Paranormal. How do you, as an investigator, how do you involve science in your investigations?
There's many different methods that comes into investigating. A lot of it is technology. You do need the digital recorders. You want a flashlight.
Oh, absolutely.
Cameras are three of the best things you can get. But when it comes down to it, there's other ways that you can look at the paranormal, and that's where science comes in. We have done a magnet test before where we've placed a magnet to see if it will move based off of any electricity in the air. Luckily, nothing happened, so no surprise there. But a lot of it is more electricity-based items that we use. We have a millimeter. We recently had an SLS camera come into our team that was put together by our paranormal tech, Amitaf, who I love to death. A lot of it is based off of technology. And another thing too, and I was going to ask this to King Mike, if you don't mind me asking, do you consider yourself a skeptic or a strong believer of the paranormal?
No such thing as a strong believer.
Okay.
In the paranormal. And really no such thing anymore as skeptics. I've had my hard time with the word skeptic as of late. Like when people call themselves skeptics, like in the name, and then 10 minutes in, they're talking about 4 or 5 times that they had to be like, well, I don't know what to call this. At that point, how can you be a skeptic? Like you can be like maybe like choosy or particular, but you can't be skeptic anymore. But it gets to a point where if you chalk so many up to the unexplained, how is that being skeptical? Again, but dude, I've had weird things happen to me a lot, but I try to block out as much stuff as I possibly can because I don't want more stuff in my life. But it always seems to creep in. I always seem to have things happen to me. I've always seemed to have things happen to me that I've either just never discussed or just chalked up and moved on. So I know that there's definitely something going on. I also know that the paranormal world is so close to the wrestling world, however, that it's scary. Because for every 2 people you get that you get a good story out of, that information, you get 8 that are telling you stuff that you're just like, really? Really? Your sock came to life? Really? Your sock? It's your sock, right? Really? Like, you know what I mean? The dumbest of things. You're like, no. And then it's like 10 minutes you'll never get back. So it's like yes and no with this. Like, I think TV ruined it. Like, see, the thing is, I never watched any of that stuff because I had kids at the time. I had twins in 2003. So I was in a bubble of like, the Wiggles. So I never got to see all this ghost hunting stuff. So once it all came out, I saw how many people are doing it. You start to figure out the groups that are good at it and real and doing it for good and real reasons. And then you start to find out the ones that are like, they want to just broadcast either their intelligence or their brand name.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And the reason why I asked about the skeptic and everything is one of the things I go into when it comes into the paranormal is not everything is paranormal. Yeah. And the TV shows, a lot of people forget it's for entertainment value. It's to build ratings. They're going to do things to kind of get your attention to keep on watching, plain and simple. And a great example of that is there's a place that the Ghost Adventures crew investigated that my team has investigated. And that is a place called, oh man, what is it again? It is Benson Grist Mill, and it's near Tooele, Utah. They went out there and talked about all these stories about a ghost girl, things attacking people inside of the schoolhouses there. And then there's a barn where there's a dark entity. We were there in October of 2020. And I can honestly tell you, the girl one could be real, but everything else was just part of the show. Plain and simple. Because we had an experience in the ghost house. We're just using a spirit box, asking questions. And I started acting like a teacher. Okay, what's 2 + 2? We get the answer 4. And I'm like, oh, good job. Everybody did well. I'm going to release class dismissed. And I hear a yay. There was nothing malicious about that. There's nothing dark about it. They try to focus on the dark side of it to try to get people's attention, but that's not always the case.
Chris, we have that right here in Rhode Island. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie The Conjuring. The Conjuring house is about 20 minutes up the road from where I'm sitting right now, and I myself haven't investigated there yet because it's a lot of money. They make a lot of money bringing people in during the week. On the weekends, it's ridiculous. It's like $250 per person. I mean, I could do it, but it's not really what I'm here to do. I want to kind of forward the science a little bit. I want to help other people going into the place like the Conjuring house and paying like crazy money for something that they're trying to sell a demonic entity that probably, from what I understand, it doesn't exist.
So
yeah.
So check this out, Chris. We early on in our shows, we did a show where Buddy was at the Armory with Kevin Hart.
Varnum Armory. And I was there. I told, hey.
That's right. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right.
You're always leaving Joe out.
Everybody take the goddamn credit for just being there. All right. Yeah, you were there. Fantastic. All right. So he's asking questions with the spirit box. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm just watching a guitar amp go. Like that's what I'm watching right now. So I remember we're like, this, that, the other. And we do have this on our shows at like the 50-minute mark or 55-minute mark. So we're at the point where I'm like kind of happy inside that we didn't get a single word or anything, because in a sick way that's funny to me. That's just funny to me because I was asking questions the whole time about him and how it works. But then at the end, he asked a question and he's like, "What do you think about so and so and what he's done with the place?" No, what was the question, buddy? Do you like what so and so done with the place?
What Patrick and Tim, what the curator and the vice president at the time had done with the armor, have done with the place since you've left.
He was like, "We're done with the place," and we heard, absolutely, just dead. Like, and again, I describe it as sounding like it came from the 50s. Like it had that like Happy Days, and it just happened. And I was like, all right, they're faking it because, you know, they're there and whatnot, but they're laughing, and come and find out it did happen. So we do have it on a show, but in this day and age, no one really cares. Like my point is like I would like make a big deal out of it and show my family, even like the old aunts, but they're like, everybody seems to be so just jaded to the point of like, you could show them like a unicorn having sex with Bigfoot, they'd be like, yeah, that's
Like,
what happens when animals get together.
I think the issue is like TV has romanticized like the paranormal experiences so much that to someone who does this, you know, constantly or is in the field, you know, you use a spirit box, and I was very skeptical of the spirit box until it swore at me. This is many years ago. And so I kind of like to use it now, and a lot of people don't understand that kind of communication, so they hear that word and like, oh, that's cool, but like it's on the radio, and it's like, but it's not. And when you try to explain it to them, like, you know, I just heard a word that came through 4 or 5 sweeps of radio stations that aren't the same station. People don't get that. People want to see apparitions. They want to see things move. They want to hear dishes crash and people running and screaming. So I think it's the biggest issue. We were laughing because we were like, holy crap, we can't believe we just caught this live. Like, what a great well, I can't say EVP, but like, what a great piece of evidence.
Yeah. Another thing, you use like the Estes experiment where you totally deprivate the person, and they're here in the spirit box, and people are talking about something, and like the words correlate with the conversation that people are having that you cannot hear. You cannot see. It's just, how does that kind of thing happen? You know, it's just it makes it more interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think the paranormal is very interesting because one day you can go into a place and there could be a lot of things going on. And, you know, I want to bring up what you said, buddy, about paying $250 to go check out the Conjuring House. Yeah. We another great place here in Utah is Asylum 49. Featured 3 times on the Ghost Adventures show and many other different places. And there's a lot of stories behind it. These guys will do the same amount of price. The thing is, I hate when people do that because you can go into a location, nothing happens. You pay $250 to sit there and get nothing when the next day something could happen. Mm-hmm. There's many different aspects that can change the paranormal.
Oh my God, yeah, tons.
And here's a great example. So we're talking about rock bands and music, and here's something I think also takes away from the paranormal is bass. Mm-hmm. And there's a place here in Utah that's about 30 to 40 miles away from a place that we normally go investigate called the Fildingar Ranch. It is Saltaire. And Saltaire is well known for having great concerts, doing a lot of raves, using a lot of bass. 2 times we've gone and investigated. They've had a concert out at this location, and you can feel the bass with how heavy it is. And we notice when that happens, we get nothing. It just dies down, silence. We jokingly speak, they're probably going to the concert at Saltaire. I mean, that happens every once in a while. But it's an example of the paranormal doesn't work on our time. It works on its own time. It does what it wants when it wants.
Exactly.
And technology will always have some way to either help it or hurt it. And music, I've done experience with music to try to get them to come out. And it sometimes works depending on the type of music you play and depending on the area. Mm-hmm. So Fildingar Ranch, this is a place that we've investigated for the last 3 years. And we decided to do a music experiment. And because Utah is known as being an LDS state, and this location was founded by someone that was a part of the LDS church, we decided to play some hymns to see if it would respond. Mm-hmm. And one of them, the most famous one for us here in Utah, is called I'm a Child of God. And we played that one, and all of a sudden we were getting different feelings. The room just filled up. It just felt weird. And it's not something we've never had happen before out there. So we knew the music was giving us something. But if you try to play something, say like Ozzy Osbourne, for instance, of course, nothing's going to happen because they don't know who Ozzy is. They don't know what the music is. They're not going to come out and tell you, turn it down.
Everyone should know who Ozzy is. That doesn't even make sense anymore, Chris.
Now, unfortunately, if you're from the 1850s, who in the hell is Ozzy Osbourne, you know?
I don't know.
We've experienced that ourselves. Me and Buddy, there was a residential case we did locally to Buddy, and we went. It was me and Buddy and Catherine, who's in our group. We went one night, very quiet. Yeah, nothing happened. Basically, just sitting in the dark for 4 hours. The next, I think it was either the next night or the next week. It was very like close.
4 days later. Yeah,
we go back in, but Catherine wasn't with us, and it was with Jared, who is still a member of Ocean State Paranormal, but he's since kind of moved on. And
I get Jared's locker.
And it was insane. He got grabbed. We were hearing things in the home. We saw some things moving in a hallway on the second floor. It is to your point. It's crazy how
going right down the hallway, right past Joe, right into the room we were in.
Guys,
not just like residential cases like that, but I mean, Fort Adams.
Let me play this clip, buddy. Let me play this clip and get it off, just so I get done with this and be done with this. Watch. I'm gonna give it as much volume as possible. See what happens.
Fine, say something, please.
Don't know. Jim Wilson, what am I holding in my hand?
Right now, I'm thinking, what a waste of time. He's holding a fire truck.
What is this, Jim?
Jim, do you know Patrick? You know Tim? Do you like what they're doing here? Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Amen, brother.
So you just heard that, right?
Yes.
You heard that distinctly, right?
Oh, that came out clear as day. You can hear it, absolutely. That was amazing.
And now I was addressing a man that had been the curator of that museum, was very possessive with that museum for 34 years, and he lived in a room adjacent to that hall that we were sitting in. His apparition had been seen in that hall, in that right behind me where I was sitting, where those cannons were, had been seen crossing that hall by this gentleman Tim, by other people on many different occasions, and they swear it looks like Jim Wilson, the guy who was the curator there. And so I was addressing a very specific person in history, and I got a very specific answer.
Chris, that freaked me out right there. That was that moment where I'm like, God darn it. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? If you're trying to pull me in, that's where you tried to pull me in right there. You made me wait the whole show, and then you're like, absolutely. And I'm like, ah. I mean, like, that was, to me, that was distinct. And again, catching a voice, a word, a whole word that's absolutely, like, at least absolutely. I guess you can say it in one syllable, but it's still it's a 4-syllable word, right? It gets through somehow on all the channels as they're skipping, which people don't understand that. That's the thing that I had to wrap my mind around. If the channels are skipping, to pick up a syllable and then contain the next syllable sound to enunciate the word as the channels go is ridiculous.
In a lot of ways, it's not one of my favorite pieces of equipment when it comes to the spirit box, only because one of the things that people forget when we're using this technology is you got to understand how to work it. You have to understand how to use it. And a lot of times you're going to get other things that come through, and you got to realize, okay, it has nothing to do with this, has nothing to do with that. And then you hear something that comes out and you're like, okay, that may have some credibility to it. But at the same time, it's not one of my favorite pieces of equipment. I try to stay away from it as much as possible, but I don't have a problem with people using it just because some can check it out. Not everybody.
That was just an odd circumstance. Like that was just one of those things where they.
But then again, like Joe said, we're like, when you hear someone swear at you through a voice box, through a spirit box, you know it's not the radio saying "f you." You know it's not the radio saying "f you" through like 5 or 6 channels.
Exactly.
You know, it's I can't dismiss it. I was a big skeptic of the spirit box, the Ovilus, when we first started using it. I'm like, no, this is. I don't know how I feel about this radio station, but like, wow, what a coincidence! Some of these words are. I can't. I have no explanation for it.
The other cool thing too, and I'm not going to take credit for this. This was Kevin that introduced this to us. But if you saw the setup we had, he actually thought to use. So I think it's the SB11. I think what's the larger spirit box that gets sold is like the ghost hunting spirit box. But he has it running to 2 different guitar effects pedals. He has a noise reduction, so it kind of cuts a lot of the static out of the white noise, and you kind of just hear it fading out. And then he uses an echo or a reverb. So anything that comes through, you can kind of hear it a little bit longer than just coming through really quickly. And then that goes to an actual small guitar amp where you can kind of play with the gain, the treble, the mid-range, and try to just get it as clear and crisp as possible. And to me, that's why I like using the spirit box in that kind of setup, because it does. Like in that video, you're sitting there listening, you're like, nah, this is gonna, whatever comes through is probably gonna suck. But then you hear the word, and it's like, oh, okay, that was very clear. So that's why I like using that setup, and I appreciate Kevin for introducing that to us. Because it's just a great mind to think of different ways to use different types of equipment from other areas to put together something that works so well. And Mike, by the way, go screw.
What? No, they can answer the question simply in the comment. Why is Joey talking so much? Hit A, leave A. He's got a lot to say. Leave B. He's a smart kid who needs to be heard. Or leave C. Less Joey, more King. Okay.
I think it's B.
So, Chris, do you guys do a podcast?
We used to, actually. It was called WASP Paranormal, and it was on KGRA Radio for a year. You can actually still listen to it on Spotify. All you do is type in WASP Radio, and it brings up our shows. It was an hour show dedicated to the paranormal. We brought on guests. We talked about some of our experiences and more.
So let me tell you about our side of this. We have legitpodcast.com. So what's happened is we have multiple podcasts for different sports, different paranormal things. We do a couple of different paranormal shows. We're going to be adding more. What I thought about being on the radio thing, though, was because we have enough, literally we had enough to do a whole radio station.
There it is right there, WASP Radio.
Oh, nice.
It's got my picture on it. It's got Rick McBride, who is our tech expert. And then we have Justin, who's our other co-founder to the group as well.
So, all right. So my thing is this. I'm not a fan of the radio aspect of podcasts. I'm more a fan of the visual and audio aspect of podcasts because I want to see the person talking. That's a real thing with me because you can hear someone say something and have no idea they really mean. But you could watch them talk and you'll just go, oh, he's a lying bastard. I can see it in his face. So that's what I like about podcasts. You know what I mean? So you guys should start one up and we'll bring you on over here.
Okay.
We'll give you your own little spot because you come from the same mentality of stuff. Let me ask you this, though. Moon Knight was a disaster, was it not?
I've heard mixed reviews, mixed actions.
So you haven't watched.
I've heard mixed things. I have personally not seen it yet, just because I haven't had enough time to.
Okay.
If you ask my buddy Mitch Workman, because there is another podcast I'm a part of that's called the Geekend Podcast, and one of the things we focus on is pop culture, sports entertainment, movies, TV.
Boy, would I be good on that.
And I even bring in a little paranormal whenever we get the chance. But he seems to love it. He thinks it was a great show and wants everybody to at least give it a chance type thing. With me, I'm an open-minded guy. Everybody has their right to their opinion. If you don't like it, you don't like it. That's okay. It happens. If you love it, cool.
Here's what I agree with. Everybody has a right to their opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
If their opinion is, however, that Moon Knight, the TV show, was good, then their opinion's wrong. And I don't even consider it anymore now, okay? Let me focus on Moon Knight, my goddamn favorite superhero for so long, right? I love Moon Knight. They kept restarting Moon Knight because they could never figure out how to, like, really successfully get it going. But as a kid, as a geek, I had every single #1 that ever came out of every Moon Knight, which was recently sold. Now, I wanted to get a tattoo of Moon Knight, but that's a very tough tattoo to get because of the way he looks with the whole hood in the dark face. It's like people don't know who Moon Knight is. It can get misconstrued. So I'm like, I can't get this tattoo of my favorite superhero. So now I'm agonizing over it. So now I finally find out they're making a TV show of it, and I'm excited, super excited. And you know what? I watched the whole show, and I get this much Moon Knight. I maybe see Moon Knight for like, I don't know, like a minute. You spend like a whole season to see a minute of footage of Moon Knight. Again, I'll say it. When he turns into Moon Knight, my favorite part, it's like, whoa, it's like a dream sequence. And then he comes to, and they're like, what happened? And he was like, I don't know. I guess I was just that part of me that you really want to see that we're not showing you. That's my review. That's my review of that show. The name of the show is Moon Knight. Tell me when you saw Moon Knight. How many times? You see him at the end coming out of a bathroom. For Christ's sakes. Coming out of the John. Give me a break. Sorry, Chris, I'm coming down now. So, Chris, when you do paranormal investigations, do you run people through a very vigorous questionnaire?
I will ask a lot of questions to see if they're going to be the right fit. We also put them through a 90-day process to see if they're going to be the right fit for WASP. We see how they handle the situation. We see if they're coming in and really wanting to do this, or is it just for fun? Are they're trying to be like Ghost Adventures. We keep it where you come in, let's see how you do. Let's train you on some equipment and let's test you and see how you're going to do. If they are not the right fit, we talk to them. Thank you for coming and trying out with us. Unfortunately, this just didn't work out. We appreciate your time. There's other paranormal groups around the area that we can have you talk to. If they jump on, we get them a t-shirt and we start working with them. One of the biggest things I look for in a team member is I want someone who's going to study evidence. I don't want someone sitting there doing nothing. Evidence needs to be reviewed every single time you do a case.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Chris,
God.
For two things. One, I am a size large. Two, the biggest thing about investigations and stuff like that I appreciate is when people do really question, because I think the problem with the paranormal world is they try not to just embrace mental health, like not just embrace it. I guess in the sense that they try to act like it doesn't exist, and we all know that it does, and we all know that there's a lot of it within the paranormal world. If that upsets people, I'm sorry. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm just telling you from what I'm looking at. I mean, it's not like I'm not somebody that suffers from mental health problems. I mean, give me a break. I'm just saying in general, like, you know, it needs to be addressed more, and I think a lot of it ends up being that manic, like, I just want to be famous, so I'm gonna put scratches down my back with a rake and claim somebody like attacked me in the basement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been a real weird ride with all this. Like, where do you fit in with all that? Like, how do you spot the phonies? Like, what are you looking for?
No, that's a very good question. I love how you brought it up, because I guarantee you mental health is something that's been going on for ages, but it's starting to get well more known now than anything. How I can tell if someone's telling me the truth or if someone's lying is just the way they act, the way they're responding. A great case I can give this on, back in 2020, early 2020, before the pandemic hit, we had this one in Layton, Utah. This kid came up to me into a store and was telling me some of the stories some of the stuff that was happening to him. Like, he saw a knife levitating off the ground. Something was above him on the roof of his house. And we don't turn down a case. We want to see what's going on to really answer these questions. And this kid, the entire time, was high as a kite. And the thing that drove me nuts about it is we have no problem helping out people, but you got to tell me what's going on in your life that's going to make you see these things. which explains the knife levitating. I guarantee you, he was high. He saw something, made it happen.
Yeah, but you know what? I'll be honest. Even high knives don't levitate. It's bullshit, base.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. That's not high. That's bullshit. That's high.
Fair enough.
So I'm gonna tell bullshit. How about that?
Right.
I like it. I'm gonna agree with you 100%. It is bullshit.
And don't mind the glasses. I've just had vertigo within the last couple of weeks, and when it hits, I feel like I'm on like that. Remember that stupid ass ride that would spin so fast it would make all your family stick to the wall?
Yes.
Like, why the hell would we do that in the first place? It would go so fast, you would get so dizzy that you stuck to a wall. And then inevitably, someone would get off the ride and throw up. That's how I feel. That's how I've been feeling the last 2 weeks. It's like I'll be normal, and then I'm on that ride for some reason, and I never paid for the ticket, Chris. Never paid for the ticket. So, Chris, moving forward with your team, what is the end goal? Like, where are you guys going with this? What's the think about it? Like a couple of years down the road, where is WASP? What is WASP doing?
WASP is trying to get those answers that everybody's looking for. WASP is not just working with ourselves because we're not selfish. We want to work with everybody because we're all looking for the same answer. Why not work together instead of against each other? If we were ever to get on TV, it's a perk, but that's not the real reward. The real reward is getting the answers to get in this study a little bit more understanding. And I know for me, one of the things I'm working on as well is a study about the boogeyman in children, which we'll have to talk about another time. I have a theory about why children say they see monsters underneath their bed or in their closet. I want to try to work on that a little bit more to get a better answer for parents to understand. Yeah, they're seeing something. We can help with that type thing.
Nice.
I think it's literally just the fact that so one, the word paranormal I think is too big. It encompasses way too much material. Like I think there needs to be like a subsection breakdown of stuff. I really do. Like if you want people to completely get on board, because when you tell somebody paranormal, it's so many subjects they really don't latch on. Like people get like fuzzy. If you give them more than 3 options, they're like and they become numb and walk away. So it's like and you want to get them to listen to what it is that you're saying, what's going on, and I don't know. It is definitely hard right now to get people to not be just blank. Have a blank response to stuff. Buddy, you understand what I'm saying? Like how hard it is to now like kind of shock somebody or get them this actually means something.
Yeah, this when you're talking about mental health and shocking people, I'm reminded of this story, this experience I had with a local demonologist. He was looking for I work in mental health, so he was looking for my opinion whether or not somebody was experiencing mental health symptoms or they were experiencing something paranormal.
I was here for this too.
I'll come with you to this person's house, and Joe actually is like, "Oh, I'd be really interested to come too." So Joe came with me. He's a member of Ocean State Paranormal,
which I will soon be announced as. I'm sorry.
Yes, which you'll be soon be announced as, Mike. And we go to this house in Cranston, Rhode Island, and we go to this woman's house, and her son lives in the basement. Her son didn't believe her that stuff was happening. And she's like upset and she's crying and she's like, all these things are going on. It's like, all right, cool. And she's like, I want to show you the basement because that's where all my everything happens. So we go downstairs with this guy and her, and her immediately, as soon as we get downstairs, like her tone of voice changes. She has this like guttural voice, like she's like making like trying to talk in tongues. I say trying because I wasn't fooled at all. Honestly, I thought it was 100% full of shit. She tries to attack this guy that I'm with, this demonologist, and saying it's the demons making her do this. And honestly, I almost went hands-on with this woman and put my hands on her and like restrained her from stopping this guy.
Oh,
Joe
I would have been Ice Cube. I would have been like Ice Cube. I would have been like, bitch, please, whap.
But
she would have been like that immediately with that.
We left the place. We went outside before we left, and this demonologist is like, so you think she's got like a possession? I'm like, no, dude, I think she's like mentally ill. And he's like, no, she's definitely possessed. No, dude. This is all an act. This is all mental illness. 100%. There's nothing paranormal here. About a week later, same guy calls me back. He's like, buddy, you'll never believe this. But that woman, I found out that she got out. Butler Hospital's our local psychiatric facility here in Rhode Island. And she had just gotten discharged from her multeenth visit to this lovely facility. And I'm like, yeah, you see that a lot. You see that a lot in the paranormal. There's a lot of people trying to make money. They go off their own psychosis. Use that as to try and like say it's paranormal. I don't know if you see it a lot in Utah, but it just reminded me of like
it's
like
a big
what
word.
the fuck moment in the paranormal that I've had.
It's a big word.
Oh, it's funny you bring that up because we had a case earlier this year in Tooele, Utah, a mile from Asylum 49, where we went to this house. They had a couple of roommates, the main house person with their child, and her husband's out on the road working. And they're saying a lot of things that are going on to their house. Mm-hmm. And when I walk in, I am fully disgusted with what I'm seeing because the place is gross. There is crap on the ground. I'm not sure if it's dog or human feces, but it's on the ground. It's disgusting. And it's over. I had to throw on an N95 mask. My asthma would have not handled that at well. And just looking at this, my first thought is, I don't think there's anything going on in your house. I think you need to get something. You need some help, honestly, because I'm not sure. I didn't say this, mind you, to him. I'm thinking in the back of my head, what in the heck did I get myself into? Right. But I don't think there's anything paranormal with this place. I think it's more of the fact you guys are lazy, not willing to clean it up. Mm-hmm. And I'm embarrassed we even took the time to come out and look at this place. It was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, that's such a real issue. And like, you know, it's one of those issues that people don't want to tackle or discuss because they're afraid that it's going to tarnish the paranormal name, which at this point, like anybody who thinks that something's going to tarnish a name or make a name better, it's all bullshit. It all goes back and forth, up and down. It's complete nonsense. As we start to wrap things up, Joe, now I know you've spoken a lot, but still, you are allowed final last words. Go ahead.
So the stack of games that's behind you over your left shoulder, are those Dreamcast? The case is up on the top shelf. I'm just trying to see if I'm right or not.
Super Nintendo.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that coming. Oh, cartridges. Okay, it's hard to see in the picture. That makes more sense though. Yeah, cartridges. See, I got my PlayStation's all lined up behind me. I'm in that same boat. That's what I've been looking at this whole time. Paranormal's taking a back seat.
Hey, Joe, by the way, I'm sure all the viewers are very excited you asked that question. Buddy, what do you got?
Hey, I'm here to satiate my own interests, okay?
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Joe? Buddy!
I just want to thank you for being on, Chris. It was a pleasure having you on. It's good to hear other investigators and their methodology and their madness and all the madness that you find in the paranormal field. It's just people don't understand how crazy things can be sometimes. But not just like ghostly evidence, just people are just nuts. But thank you for coming on. We thank you for making it all the way from Utah. Please join us next week if you're listening. We have who's on next week? Peter Panagore is coming back to join us. He's author. He's near-death experience survivor. He had a good story from his first book. The first time he joined us a few months ago, he's going to come back on and talk about his second book and his experience of almost dying and coming back. It's just it kind of blew me away. It took me aback on the first one, so it's
an incredible story.
I want to talk about it again. So about dying on the side of a mountain. Join us next week for Peter Panagore.
Chris, what do you have as far as to promote or anything we can get out there for the people to see?
Absolutely. So you can follow us on Facebook. Just type in WASP 801. It should bring up the Western Association for the Science of the Paranormal. We're on Twitter, which that one I don't really follow very much, I'll be honest with you. But we do have Instagram. We do have TikTok. And our website, wasparanormal.org. And you can contact us through there. And, of course, big shout-out to our sponsor, Dark Prime Collectibles.
Awesome. So, Chris, my theory is So we have the Legit Podcast site. You could just get your show going, and what we would just do is just put the link to your YouTube channel on the site. So that way they'd still be going to your channel, but we'd finally have to be bringing shows together as opposed to everybody wants to do their own thing and become
Absolutely.
I guess the Michael Jordan of paranormal, which by the way, I do not want. Me and Buddy, and I don't know if I speak for Joe, but I've seen me and Buddy on location at these Paracons. We do not want to be any Michael Jordan of any Paracon event. I'm happy with being Rodman, man. I'm the Rodman of Paracon. I'll take care of all the crap stuff. I don't want to be, you know what I mean? You don't really need to hear from me. That's how it goes. I'll tell you this much. From the Northeast, which we scare a lot of people in our area, just because there's a lot of shady ass people that have grown up and come up, the mafia in general in this area. However, man, does Utah scare the shit out of us in the Northeast.
It's funny you bring that up. You know
it's
why?
True. It terrifies us.
You want to know why that's funny? Is because there's an old saying that Al Capone supposedly said he would never step in Ogden, Utah because it's too dangerous. Right. So to hear that is hysterical. It's amazing.
It's true though. There's just a I don't know, like a stereotype that like if you end up in Utah, you are not coming back from Utah. That's basically what, even as a little kid, I kind of like always learned about the state of Utah. Hey, if you end up in Utah, you're not coming back from Utah. So you guys got
don't drink the Kool-Aid.
What sport?
That's funny and scary.
I'm kidding.
What sports teams are you into?
I am a huge San Francisco 49er fan. Been one since I've been a little kid. I support the Utah Jazz, even though I know they'll never win an NBA championship as long as they live, especially the way they're running that team. Hockey, yeah, there you go. I actually just received a helmet from one of the old offensive linemen that are no longer a part of the team from a signature, which was really cool.
This is a mini camouflage Jerry Rice.
Oh, beautiful.
Like, you have no idea, like, Joey would know. If you go to the Legit Podcast website, I actually have a page where I'm selling sports memorabilia. I have over 90-something items. But, like, this is one of my favorites because Jerry's impossible to get.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jerry doesn't sign anything. And it actually came with a photo of him signing it. That's like how, like, with him, you have to be sure.
Oh, without question. Anything Jerry Rice is valuable. Don't lose it with 100%. Hockey-wise, Colorado Avalanche, which I'm hoping they see to win this championship over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Baseball, I'm a big fan of the Philadelphia Phillies. Oh, wow. I grew up with them, and my father-in-law is actually a huge Philly anything. Philadelphia Flyers, Philadelphia Eagles, Philadelphia 76ers.
Uh-oh.
You name it, he's a fan of
Don't
everything.
Philly in front of Mike.
He's also a Philadelphia Eagles fan, so there you go.
Oh, boy.
But if it makes you feel any better, I'm
2, 3, 4. Go ahead, finish up, Chris. Were you saying about Philadelphia? You talking about Philadelphia? I heard you say something about the Eagles. I got a little fuzzy. I remember we're doing our show, and I'm like, "What? Did he say something about Philly?" Oh, continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Trust me. When it comes to me, I have no problem with any team in the NFL except the Seattle Seahawks. I have a problem with them being a 49er fan. You could tell me the Dallas Cowboys, and I wouldn't complain. I have no problem with them.
So, Joe, whenever I say I want you to hit the beep. Ready? I fucking hate the Eagles. I hate the Cowboys. I hate the Commanders. Awful. Is that what we settled on? The commies? Get out of here with that shit. I hate teams from Philly. I can't stand Philly fans. They're the worst people in the world. They threw snowballs at Santa. They cheered when Michael Irvin was almost paralyzed on the field. They're rotten people. I've been there. I hate Philly. I hate the Eagles. And I think if you want to make any money, take every every dollar you have, every cent you have, and you bet on the Birmingham Stallions to win the USFL championship game. Chris, me and Buddy, for some reason, we did a USFL show. People watched it. Throughout the whole season, I ended after 40 games, 29 wins and 11 losses. To beat 29 out of 40 is like 72.5%, right? On the last show, we said the best case scenario for a bet would be if somehow Philly beat New Jersey and ended up against Birmingham. All I mean to say by this, Chris, is that Birmingham is like a team that's stacked with athletes, and Philly sucks. They suck the bottom of it. They just suck. So if you want to make any money, buddy, you got to back me on this.
They surge, but they're going to lose against Birmingham. Yeah.
There's no chance. No chance at all.
No chance.
So I'm sorry, Chris. Anything else you want to say? I know I went on another rant.
I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to come on and join your show. I also want to show a shout out to my cousin Jackie Harmon, who originally was supposed to be in my spot this week due to the circumstances on her control. She couldn't make it, but I had no problem coming in, hanging out with you guys. This has been a blast. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jackie, for hooking us up too. By the way,
Yeah,
awesome guest.
Yeah, it really has been fun. Let's see. For me to wrap it up, what is on my schedule? Oh, Tuesday night is the second episode. Buddy, is it at 8:05, right? 8:05?
8:05, legit paranormal
Vacation
planner. We're
planner.
going to be taking you to the lovely state of New Hampshire. I'm not going to tell you anything else. We're going to go up to the Granite State in New Hampshire, and we're going to show you some lovely.
So basically, Chris, what we've done is Buddy and Elise G, as we call her now, they look up these locations that are similar areas, hotels that have had either paranormal or horrific murders and stuff like that. And then I try to sell people to stay there, and they keep trying to like ruin my sale and my commission by telling all these horrific details. So it's a way to get the information across without just being bland about it and reading it like it's a thing. You know what I mean? So
last week we had one of the hotel, a really nice hotel. Well, the hotel that we had a clip of a guy in, I think it was 2013. He kept being waken up by the bathroom door slamming, and they filmed it. And it sure enough, within like 2 minutes, the bathroom door slams. And he gets up, he opens the bathroom door, he walks in the bathroom. There's nobody in there. There's no wiring. There's no explanation other than it slams, and it's happened multiple times in different rooms.
Each time it happens, it doesn't matter at all to me. It's such a boring thing. The bathroom door should be closed, for Christ's sakes. Close the door. Who leaves the bathroom door open? You're angry about a ghost that closes the bathroom door. That's like you're angry about a ghost that comes and grabs your pillow and fluffs it. Get out of here with this shit. Like again, I said it on the last show. The ghost, the guy has to deal with the ghost closing a bathroom door. The ghost has to deal with all of the depravity that you sick maniacs do within those walls all the time. I pity the ghost. All he wants is the bathroom closed. Can we just do that and not make it a spectacle and put it on YouTube every... Jesus, Christopher. You guys are real maniacs, buddy. You're maniacs. Chris, it was great having you on. I know you appreciate wrestling, so you kind of understand how we, or at least I, switch from characters. It's all just for the fun of the game.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. It was June 26, 2022, which is 0626 to 2022. Matthews go crazy. 4, Chris Harmon. 4, Buddy Money there. 4, Joey Paranormal. It is me, Mike Leopard King, Mike L. This was Legit Paranormal, brought to you by LegitPodcast.com. Tune in Tuesday night for our next show, Legit Paranormal Vacation Planners. Sure to be a banger. We'll see you. We are done.